Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you.
Good morning. I'm Wendy DeBoard, and I am your service associate today. It's a special Sunday, as today is the beginning of our Stewardship Pledge Drive, which will continue through the rest of March. Near the end of the service, Marna Slauson and I will tell you more about stewardship and ask you to be generous in your pledging. And I am here with Reverend Tim Barger, our senior minister, Ginny Gottman, our director of lifelong learning, and she'll tell today's story. Jeffrey Maxey, our music director, is at the piano today. And our First Unitarian Choir is here too. And today's tech crew is led by producer-director Andy Gottman. Jeff Slauson, who is also our church treasurer, is the camera operator. And David Strickler, our commissioned lay leader, is running the audio, visual, whatever part. I guess the audio part. Anyway, they're all back there. We have many more volunteers helping too, with greeters in the lobby, religious education helpers for today's RE activities, and we have a crew preparing for coffee hour, led by Carla Logan Mercer, our kitchen committee coordinator. The only doctrine of our church is love and the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We welcome everyone as we sang in our opening song. If you are a visitor, you may have noticed in the pew rack in front of you a yellow card that helps us to know that we have a new seeker here too. So please fill that out. We also welcome you who are joining us on our Toledo Unitarian YouTube channel. We hope this time serves your spirit.
Separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of His arm. A thousand this life hear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, passion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. sounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again.
Hi, I'm Reverend Tim, and let me add to Wendy's welcome. It's not all about pledging and money today. The world is troubled, and some of us, I'm pretty sure, are troubled by the way the world is. So we'll have words on war and peace, on the way people are, bad and good. And we hope that the span of what we do in this liberal religious church inspires you to support our mission of fostering spiritual growth and compassionate action, and our vision of being a vibrant, inclusive spiritual community that achieves growth, visibility, and relevance. While I'd like today's content to be a bit lighter and attempt to inspire you to give generously to support this institution that's so important to us, instead you'll have another aspect of why we need church that's involved in the world, in the community, in your own lives. We're certainly not one-dimensional, and neither are you. Be with us. The flame of the chalice that we light in our gatherings symbolizes courage and illumination and honors our search for truth and meaning. Let's all say the words for chalice lighting together. They'll be on the screen and in the order of service as Wendy lights the flame. Our chalice has the spirit of Unitarian Universalism. We light it centered in love. May it glow with sacredness and shine for each and for all. And let's continue reciting together with Wendy leading us in the covenant of our congregation. This is not a creed, but what we share with general agreement.
Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Now please join us for some congregational singing with number 105, From Age to Age. And for you who are willing and able, please stand.
From age to age, now grandly rise the prophet souls in line. Above the passive centuries, like beacons, lights they shine. Like beacons, lights they shine. They witness to one heritage, one spirit's quickening breath, one widening way from age to age of freedom and of faith, of freedom and of faith. Their kindling power our souls confess, through death they speak today. How break the cloud of witnesses, encompassing our way, encompassing
my young friends to come forward to hear the story if they would like to join me. I'm going to get started because there's a lot of information to get out today. Last week, we talked about a Japanese family named the Munamitsus. You just woke up from your nap? The Munamitsus, who during World War II were imprisoned in concentration camps in Arizona and New Mexico. The Munamitsus had a farm in Orange County, California, and they were in danger of losing it because they were not there to protect it. They put the farm up for rent, and Sylvia Mendez and her family moved in. Sylvia's father, Gonzalo, was an immigrant from Mexico. Her mother was an American from Puerto Rico. And when the family moved to the Munamitsu farm in Orange County, Sylvia's Aunt Soledad took Sylvia and her siblings and her own kids and took them to 17th Street Elementary School to enroll. The people at 17th Street said no way could Sylvia and her siblings attend because 17th Street was a white-only school. You might remember that last week we learned that the Japanese Munamitsu children had attended the 17th Street School. So I guess really 17th Street School was white and Japanese only. Except Aunt Soledad was able to enroll her own kids in the school, even though she was Mexican, because their last name wasn't Mexican, it was Spanish. So 17th Street was really a white, Japanese, and sort of light-skinned, definitely Spanish, but possibly not really Mexican-only school. Except that also, Sylvia's own father, Gonzalo, was super smart, and when he was a kid, he was invited to enroll in 17th Street School. So it was really a white and Japanese, sort of light-skinned, clearly Spanish, but not really obviously Mexican, but maybe Mexican if you're super smart and specially invited school. Only. Are you beginning to think that racist beliefs just don't make any sense at all? As is so often the case in these kinds of situations, 17th Street Elementary was bigger, cleaner, and more modern than Hoover Elementary, where the kids of Mexican descent typically attended. But there's more. Kids in Hoover Elementary School did not learn math and science. Instead, they learned things like farming and cooking and embroidery. Sylvia's super smart father, Gonzalo, her Aunt Soledad, and some other local Mexican and Hispanic families sued the school because it wasn't fair that the kids from Mexican backgrounds were not taught math and science. The case was called Mendez versus Westminster, and Sylvia and the other families won the case. In 1947, California allowed kids of all races to attend all schools. You might already know that the case that outlawed school segregation all over the country was called Brown versus Board of Ed of Topeka. Sylvia's case was decided before that, but it only applied to schools in California. When Sylvia's case was decided, the governor of California was Earl Warren. When the Brown case was decided, Earl Warren was the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. So Sylvia and Gonzalo absolutely helped to end school segregation all over the country. That's really all we have time for today, but there is so much more to learn. There's an Emmy-winning documentary called Menendez versus Westminster for all the children. You can look up Thurgood Marshall's role in the Mendez case and then his role in the Brown case. You can read about Earl Warren's involvement in the Japanese internment camps and prepare to be disappointed. Read about what happened when the Mendezes left Orange County and moved to Santa Ana and were again told that Sylvia only could enroll in the Mexican school. Guess what Gonzalo did then? Sylvia was awarded a Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Obama. She has schools named after her. She became a woman in STEM. Her story is incredible, and she is still alive, and she is not done writing it. Thank you.
It's right here.
Good morning. Okay. This is All Things Considered, and I'm Marna Slauson.
And I'm Wendy DeBoard.
For this year's stewardship campaign, and in the tradition of the award-winning NPR series, we are going to report weekly with guest appearances, statistics, live updates, and news flashes, all provided by your very own First Unitarian pundits.
As we kick off this year's campaign, we understand the challenges of the world today and the need for our church to serve as an oasis, a haven, or even a nest.
Yes, a nest that nurtures and protects our liberal principles and values. So what better choice for this year's mascot than an owl who represents wisdom and guidance through transitions.
Okay, drum roll please for this year's mascot who flew in overnight from Transylvania, the birthplace of Unitarianism. Please meet Oliver. He is so happy to join us this month and be amongst other wise owls and owlets. He even hooted about being honored to be amongst other United States Unitarians, since they are known far and wide as scholars and philosophers.
So, Oliver, who have you selected for our wise old owl testimonial this Sunday? Oh, it's Terry Acox, who considers herself a hoot owl. Let's all do a hoot out. Hoot, 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 hoot.
Hello. 41 years ago, I discovered Unitarian Universalism while searching for a church in which to marry. Who, where? I was told by a friend, ask the Unitarian Universalists, they'll marry anybody. They do. Curious, I read and discovered that I was a UU in belief, and then, as best I could, in practice. I officially joined 23 years ago, ready to be a part of the community of like-minded seekers, to give and receive respect, caring and support, to be in covenant, and to share inspiration for my work within me and within the church and within the larger world. Speaking of working within me, as I've mentioned in services before, I tend to procrastinate. Who? Me? For many years, I procrastinated completing my pledge form. I knew I would get it done. I give a hoot about all we do and who we are. Here's my honest confession. For many years, being a practiced procrastinator, I'd just put that form aside and say, yeah, I'll take care of that. And then time would pass and pass. I might lose the form. I'd forget to ask for a new form. I might even be so late that I'd get a phone call inquiring about my intention and offering a new form. Yeah, thanks. I'll take care of that. That was my pattern for years. Who can relate? Then, several years ago, I volunteered for a few stewardship campaigns. And guess who gained some wisdom? Me. I hadn't known how my procrastination made stewardship so difficult. Who even ever thought about so many people being procrastinators like me? Not me. Who ever thought about the extra work for the stewardship folks? Not me. Who ever thought about how delaying the completion of the campaign negatively affected the board members and their budget preparation for the annual meeting? Not me. Who learned how easy it is to make the stewardship ministry so much easier for the volunteers serving us all? Yes, me. It's so simple. Complete the form as soon as possible. Today, the first day, works for me, just like it did last year. Who else is ready? As I leave to be with the owlets who fled the nest for RE, who am I looking at with love and appreciation? You, who are my people.
Thank you, Terry, for your words of wisdom. And they were so timely. So now this is where we really get our talons into the meat of the matter. Pledge sheets are available on the table in the lobby by Oliver's Nest. After the service, please pick yours up and complete it at your earliest convenience, but no later than March 28th. That's the end of this month. 1 month, got it? Beginning to end, 1 month. So we can make an appropriate budget. It'll be completed before our annual meeting.
Newsflash. Wendy, did you know there are multiple databases within the church containing member and friend information that is used in various ways for many purposes?
I might be going out on a limb here, but wouldn't it make more sense to have just one database that will serve all those purposes?
Yes, and of course, in an effort to create this universalist database, the pledge sheet was combined with a data collection form on the back. So when you get yours, I was going to bring one up. Oh well.
They'll see them soon enough.
Two sides with data collection information on the back. This way, we will receive each member's and friends' most current information to enter into a new software program designed to manage multiple tasks from one central database. If you need help filling out your form, please see me or Wendy or Oliver.
Before we sign off, Oliver has indicated that he would like to add something. Oh, wow. Oliver said he's offering an amazing incentive for the first 20 people who turn in their completed pledge and information sheet. So shake a tail feather and get those sheets turned in.
And just a final note, if you thought last year's pig stickers looked good on your name tag, you'll love this year's adorable owl stickers. They are a real hoot.
So as we sign off this week's Owl Things Considered episode, please remember, all we need is love.
Thank you, Marna and Wendy and Terry. We're moving to Beyond Ourselves. I would like for today's service to be somewhat light and directed toward our stewardship pledge drive. But as I said, there are troubles in the world, and we need to give attention to them and the effect on ourselves and our souls. So now that we've had the initial giving pitch from Marna and Wendy, we move to this time beyond ourselves. In this first of 3 intentional times of spiritual practice in our Sunday gatherings, we look beyond ourselves, considering celebrations and sorrows and the state of things, including how the world is and how we wish it would be. If we did have the wisdom attributed to owls, would our world be better? Though the world, and in some ways especially our nation, is in an extended time of trouble, There is also a call for kindness, compassion, and personal peace. May the way we live be part of making the world better. Join me for a time of having our spirit open to what is beyond ourselves. It's a time of war, and so much braggadocio about it from the government leaders. The Secretary of Defense, who retitled his position as Secretary of War, says proudly that our forces are acting without mercy. And we should be aware of what we cause by this preemptive action of Israel and the United States, and how it has already expanded so much beyond Iran. Have mercy on those subjected to the terror our leaders are imposing on them. Primary elections have begun in our nation, and I hope that the campaigning will help to temper the partisan division, the extremes, and we start to figure out how to make the next moves to correct the wrongness of the current federal administration. The public funeral of a civil rights leader and statesperson, Reverend Jesse Jackson, was held this week. He did so much more than we comprehend, I think, to make this a better nation and to make racial justice possible. Former President Barack Obama spoke at that funeral, and I want to quote some of what he said, as it was put in the Letters to an American blog of Professor Heather Cox Richardson. We are living in a time when it can be hard to hope, Obama said. Each day we wake up to some new assault on our democratic institutions, another setback to the idea of the rule of law, an offense to common decency. Every day you wake up to things you just didn't think were possible. Each day we're told by those in high office to fear each other and to turn on each other, and that some Americans count more than others, and that some don't even count at all. Everywhere we see greed and bigotry being celebrated, and bullying and mockery masquerading as strength. We see science and expertise denigrated, while ignorance and dishonesty and cruelty and corruption are reaping untold rewards. Every single day we see that, and it's hard to hope in those moments. So it may be tempting to get discouraged, to give in to cynicism. It may be tempting for some to compromise with power and grab what you can, or even for good people to maybe just put your head down and wait for the storm to pass. But Obama said, Jackson's life inspires us to take a harder path. His voice calls on each of us to be heralds of change, to be messengers of hope. Wherever we have a chance to make an impact, whether it's in our school or our workplaces or our neighborhoods or our cities, not for fame, not for glory, or because success is guaranteed, but because it gives our life purpose, because it aligns with what our faith tells us God demands, and because if we don't step up, no one else will. Thank you, Jesse Jackson, for accompanying Martin Luther King Jr., for starting Operation Breadbasket and the Rainbow Push Coalition, for running for president twice, and for becoming an honored elder statesperson. May we have more people as human and as effective as you were. It's also International Women's Day. I wonder if the U.S.'s efforts at establishing an equal rights amendment to the Constitution will be effective, and the law can help women to be as human and as effective as we've experienced in real life. And I have some words for us at home. There are people in our circles who with their family and friends have challenges of life and death. People in our circles also have challenges of health and illness. We have times of being at home and traveling, knowing financial security and anxiety-laden monetary stress. Decisions are being made by ourselves and by others on how we can live our best lives, which sometimes means aspiring to that, not having an easy way to get from here to there, and realizing we have moves yet to make to reach aims and goals. And individual and family ways go on with new lives born and many other joys and celebrations. We all have bad days and good. May kindness and gentleness be with us. May we be compassionate to all, as we don't know what other people are going through. So treat one another well. And may we be glad for their celebrations and ours. Let's look for and take part in the good wherever we can find it. One reason we join in religious gatherings is to realize common links. We know that the uncommon is here too. Let's be together in faith, hope, and love. Please share mercy and dignity, and remember to breathe. That natural action can be spiritual. Let's continue to have First Unitarian be a place of welcome, of grace, even of refuge from hard times. And that in this liberal religious community, we can help one another, care for ourselves, and have our part in changing the world. Amen.
When it comes to loving me, don't stop. I know there ain't no guarantee, but don't stop. Let's keep it shaking while we can. You don't need another man. We'll be rolling with the plan. Don't stop. When it's near to closing time, don't stop. Put your hand in mine, don't stop. We'll dance the night away. Won't care what people say. No pause, press play, don't stop. Don't stop dreaming. Don't stop believing. 'Cause you know that our time is coming up. So with all you've got, don't stop. There's a reason you're here, don't stop. You ain't got nothing to fear, so don't stop. This train has left the station. Who knows what destination? This love is for the taking, don't stop. Don't stop dreaming. Don't stop believing. 'Cause you know that our time is coming up. Let's soak up the day and dance the night away. So with all you've got, don't stop. So with all you've got, don't stop.
For our time of turning inward for meditation, contemplation, and prayer, the reading I bring today will feel harsh to some, not comforting, and if you need comfort, I hope the minute of silence that follows will help you to find your inner peace. But with the actions of the United States President, the executive branch, and the military, the war that I see is being started by Israel and the United States against Iran and expanding into much of the Middle Eastern part of this world, I feel impelled to address that with some religious time in congregation and in community. I have a satirical short story by Mark Twain, written in a time of American imperialism about 120 years ago. The title is The War Prayer. We'll follow the reading with 1 minute of silence, only hearing the sounds around us. And then we'll sing together only the first verse of number 86, Blessed Spirit of My Life. It was a time of great and exalting excitement. The country was up in arms. The war was on. In every breast burned the holy fire of patriotism. On every hand and far down the receding and fading spread of roofs and balconies, a fluttering wilderness of flags flashed in the sun. Nightly, the packed mass meetings listened, panting, to patriot oratory which stirred the deepest deeps of their hearts, and which they interrupted at briefest intervals with cyclones of applause, the tears running down their cheeks the while. In the churches, the pastors preached devotion to flag and country, and invoked the God of battles, beseeching his aid in our good cause in outpourings of fervid eloquence which moved every listener. Sunday morning came. Next day, the battalions would leave for the front. The church was filled. The volunteers were there, their young faces alight with martial dreams. Visions of the stern advance, the gathering momentum, the rushing charge, the flashing sabers, the flight of the foe, the tumult, the enveloping smoke, the fierce pursuit, the surrender. Then home from the war, bronzed heroes, welcomed, adored, submerged in golden seas of glory. The service proceeded. A war chapter from the Old Testament was read. The first prayer was said. Then came the long prayer. None could remember the like of it for passionate pleading and moving and beautiful language. The burden of its supplication was that an ever merciful and benignant Father of us all would watch over our noble young soldiers and aid, comfort, and encourage them in their patriotic work. An aged stranger entered and moved with slow and noiseless step up the main aisle, his eyes fixed upon the minister, his long body clothed in a robe that reached to his feet, his head bare, his white hair descending in a frothy cataract to his shoulders, his seamy face unnaturally pale, pale even to ghastliness. He ascended to the preacher's side and stood there, waiting. The stranger touched his arm, motioned him to step aside, which the startled minister did, and took his place. During some moments, he surveyed the spellbound audience with solemn eyes in which burned an uncanny light. Then, in a deep voice, he said, "I come from the throne, bearing a message from Almighty God. God's servant and yours has prayed his prayer. Has he paused and taken thought? Is it one prayer? No, it is two, one uttered, the other not. Both have reached the ear of him who heareth all supplications, the spoken and the unspoken. Ponder this, keep it in mind. If you would beseech a blessing upon yourself, beware lest without intent you invoke a curse upon a neighbor at the same time. If you pray for the blessing of rain upon your crop which needs it, by that act are you possibly praying for a curse upon some neighbor's crop which may not need rain and can be injured by it? You have heard your servant's prayer, the uttered part of it. I am commissioned of God to put into words the other part of it, that part which the pastor and also you in your hearts fervently prayed silently and ignorantly and unthinkingly. God grant that it was so. You heard these words, grant us the victory, O Lord our God. When you have prayed for victory, you have prayed for many unmentioned results which follow victory, must follow it, cannot help but follow it. Upon the listening Spirit of God also fell the unspoken part of the prayer. He commandeth me to put it into words. Listen. O Lord, our Father, our young patriots, idols of our hearts, go forth to battle. Be thou near them. With them in spirit, we also go forth from the sweet peace of our beloved firesides to smite the foe. O Lord our God, help us to tear their soldiers to bloody shreds with our shells. Help us to cover their smiling fields with the pale forms of their patriot dead. Help us to drown the thunder of the guns with the shrieks of their wounded writhing in pain. Help us to lay waste their humble homes with a hurricane of fire. Help us to wring the hearts of their unoffending widows with unavailing grief. Help us to turn them out roofless with little children to wander unfriended the wastes of their desolated land in rags and hunger and thirst. Sports of the sun flames of summer and the icy winds of winter, broken in spirit, worn with travail, imploring thee for the refuge of the grave and denied it. For our sakes who adore thee, Lord, blast their hopes, blight their lives, protract their bitter pilgrimage, make heavy their steps, water their way with their tears, stain the white snow with the blood of their wounded feet. We ask it in the spirit of love, of him who is the source of love, and who is the ever faithful refuge and friend of all that are sore beset and seek his aid with humble and contrite hearts. Amen. After a pause. Ye have prayed it. If ye still desire it, speak. The messenger of the Most High waits. It was believed afterward that the man was a lunatic because there was no sense in what he said. 1 minute of silence.
Okay, this reading is from Merriam-Webster, the reference publisher, a note to distinguish pray from pray, as the words sound the same. I'll use my hand to give the American Sign Language for A, for prayer, as in pray as in prayer. And Reverend Tim gave me a real quick how to learn sign language while you're waiting to speak, because somebody didn't look at this beforehand. So this is A, for pray with an A, and when the thumb's in, it's pray as an E, as prey the predator. So you got it, right? I think I do. Okay. What to know? In a religious context, to pray, yes, everybody, yeah, they said A, good, is to speak to God, to a God, in order to give thanks or to ask for something. Pray can also mean to make a request in a humble manner. The verb E, pray, refers to seizing, devouring, or having a harmful effect on something. The meaning and use of pray most often functions as a verb with a small variety of definitions. When used as an intransitive verb, it may mean to address God or a god with adoration, confession, supplication, or thanksgiving, or to make a request in a humble manner. As a transitive verb, pray may mean to entreat or implore. In this sense, it's often used as a function word in introducing a question, request, or plea, or to get or bring by praying. So the meaning and use of pray with an E, on the other hand, is commonly found as both a verb and a noun. As a noun, it carries such meanings as an animal, taking by a predator as food, one that is helpless or unable to resist attack, and the act or habit of praying. As a verb, it means to seize and devour prey, to commit violence or robbery or fraud. to have an injurious, destructive, or wasting effect, or to make raids for the sake of booty. Prey comes from the Latin praeada, meaning booty, plunder. Given the potentially violent nature of some of the meanings of prey, it can look odd when one uses this word mistakenly for the beseeching or religious one. Such mistakes are not uncommon, even in edited prose. More often, the word pray with an E is substituted for pray as a pun. For example, here comes a joke. After all that, we need a joke. Mr. Rockefeller carries his religions into his business affairs, says one of his biographers. Out in Kansas, they understand that Mr. Rockefeller opens every day with the devout expression, "Let us pray." The prayer of, with an A, religious misers, 6 days out of 7. Oh, religious misers, 6 days out of 7 is, "Let us pray." So now we'll have Reverend Tim's service. What do you pray?
Thanks, Wendy. All things considered, the wise owl. Let's all of us bring the owl into our stewardship call to inspire us to use our wise brains to make a good and generous pledge to support our church over the next year, and also to keep some social conscience by reminding us of the public interest ads from our youth featuring Woodsy Owl with the guidance, "Give a hoot, don't pollute." And have some cuteness with toys, owls stuffed with softness, putting fun in this needed call for money. Add the Unitarian Universalist connection that our lifespan sexual education program is called Our Whole Lives, and shortened to OWL. A good spirit in the owl, a fitting bird companion for us. Owls are wise. Owls are mysterious in ways, as they're deeper in nature than we city folks are. Owls are good symbols for our Unitarian Universalist faith, with much more to owls than we see and commonly know. Who are we? We must acknowledge that the owl is not always gentle, and neither are people, even we peaceful Unitarian Universalists. Owls are raptors, birds of prey. They hunt, they kill, they eat what they take. And still, they're like us in many ways here too. What do we pray? Too often, we prey on our own, other humans, and our individual selves. From taking advantage of people to better our own position while making them victims, to paradoxically self-destructive prey within ourselves that can range from insecure doubts to addictive self-harm. We humans are predators and we're prey, especially by intentionally predatory humans, not just stereotypical villains and inducers of fear, but by people who have always had a societal advantage because of birth or wealth or association. Let me run through this part on human predators, as we have too much of this right now in the news we see and live. I need to include this aspect when prey is the topic, it being so much in the news today. But I don't want to dwell on politics and war today because we've done so much of that already. But let's bring up the Epstein files. Direct and distractions from them. It's a story encompassing so many people in power, the rich and elite, and most of them men, who we see have their own rules, and it's fun to them in some way to take advantage of others. The Epstein files show that these people who could be using their resources to make a better world, to right wrongs, to help those who don't have the advantages that they do, instead apply their predatory abilities in very bad ways for their own pleasure against children, disposable, as exploitive as they can be. When I ask, what do you pray? I hope that you're not in this group. And if you do have such resources, that this type of behavior is somehow under the radar as not to be mentioned, that your morals and ethics and character mean you don't participate, and that you help those caught in this trap too. Another prey aspect is in business, with the term predatory lending. If your past financial conditions show that there's a predictable chance that your borrowing might not be paid back promptly, that it's hard for you to get a loan, companies will make it pretty easy for you to get some money, but it will cost more and have such restrictive conditions that you'll pay much more for that borrowing. It's exploitive of those who need the resources more. Companies determine our credit scores, and the lower the number, the more expensive our credit will be. Let's have a spiritual mention too. We've seen prey aspects in houses of prayer, haven't we? It's not limited to Western Christianity, though we might be more familiar with some mega churches that, as shown on their religious telecasts, seem to be dedicated primarily to getting as much money as they can from a person seeking religious connection. And we've observed that some vows of poverty seem not to include big houses, fancy cars, and shiny jewelry. Religious leaders who get people to give so they can take. Societal ways of pray. Do you remember last week when I spoke about transgression and said transgression isn't always wrong, isn't always bad, and sometimes is essential for change for the good to happen and for personhood to bloom? Well, there's a similarity there regarding pray. To become our better selves, there are times when we need to have dominance, not permit something to take us down. It doesn't require making someone else a victim, but there is some good to humans having so many dimensions that some things not perceived as positive still are needed for our own personhood. We're omnivores, meat and vegetables, and that gets to being both predator and prey in many circumstances too, in our living and security and survival. There are things we might not like to do, but for some of them, we must do them to preserve our own sense of being. We can't redefine pray to be all positive. We liberal religious people also know pretty well that all prayer, as in sacred supplication, isn't all positive either, as prayers aren't always answered, and the answers that do come perhaps have no tie to divinity, but instead come from why that prayer was given to begin with. So, we Unitarian Universalists have our values, our principles, and we assert them and try our best to live them, centering in love, which in predatory places is so rare. We can try to have our full dimensions, our full lives, our whole lives. And like we can be fascinated by the owl as an unusual creature of wisdom and stealth, we can use that connection for all things considered. The wise old owl, as complicated as we Toledo Unitarians are. Do any of these words help you to determine best stewardship of our congregation? I hope so. So be it. Blessed be, and hoot.
At this time for the offering, we will pass the baskets here in the sanctuary, and all of you, including our YouTube viewers, can also donate electronically or by mail. Thank you for being generous and for helping Unitarian Universalism to thrive in Toledo. For more congregational singing, let's sing number 16, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple."
Tis a gift to be simple, tis a gift to be free, tis a gift to come down where we want to be, and where we want to taste the light, to breathe in the valley of love and the heart.
We are the light to my turning, we come out right.
It's the coming soon part of our gathering where we tell you what's scheduled for next Sunday, we give some announcements, and we also let you know for what's up for right after we leave the sanctuary. Next Sunday, join us for Spiritual Forum in Fellowship Hall at 9:45 a.m. when Phil Teitelbaum will give part 2 of his 3-part series on the historical Jesus. Part 1 was today, and this will conclude in another week on March 22nd.
For the 11 a.m. gathering next Sunday, Reverend Tim will bring some congregation history. March 15th is the day of the Academy Awards, the Oscars, will be presented, and we'll have a tie to film here with Reverend Tim telling us about when First Unitarian bought a movie projector in 1921 for another way of having church and for community outreach. And as a sidebar, I visited with Walter McGee yesterday. He's at Regency, and he's working on healing his leg without surgery. He's got a broken leg, and that's the only option at this point. So just let it rest, the bone's in place, let it heal. The sidebar is, he happened to mention that he won an Academy Award. And I'm like, oh, really? You know, Walter, what kind of drugs are they giving you in here? But he did. He was the producer of like an NPR special that included MIT University students. It's called, I'm going to look it up, Cuddy Hunk Island, and it was in 1977, and it was the first windmill in the United States to be used for wind power, and it was on a little island out in the water there. And after the videographer came in from Los Angeles to film it, and he said, you ought to submit this to and it cost money. I didn't know that. It's like $2,400 back then to submit. Well, MIT was real happy to pony up the money for that, and they won the Oscar. So there you go.
The Emmy.
It's public TV documentary, and yeah. He said Oscar. We also hear Emmy, so we're not certain. And Walter actually gave the acclaim to the other members of the team, and he decided that he would be background for that instead. And that was very generous on his part. And by the way, I also saw Walter earlier this week. His spirits are good, and our greetings go out to him. Also incoming soon, we want to let you know about 2 trainings we'll have next Sunday. Scheduled from 12:15 to 1:15 is religious education teacher training, and we're always in need of more people to be with our young ones as they learn about Unitarian Universalist ways and values. See Jenny Gottman for details.
And at about 1 to 2 today, Reverend Tim
Tomorrow, next week.
Next week. Oh, don't do this today. Next week, Reverend Tim will have the second session of trainings after the service and coffee hour for our revitalized Sunday service committees. We're planning to have lay-led services throughout the year as well as for our summer services. And these trainings will help the participants to design the services, choose speakers, mostly from the committee members, and do all the Sunday work of preparing these services. These Sunday services training sessions will be in person and have a Zoom connection. Though you won't get as much from the training if you're participating online, it will still help.
And we're almost at the end of the service, so let me remind you once again, do you remember so long ago, a little bit more now than an hour passed, when Marna and Wendy asked you to pledge your financial support for First Unitarian Church of Toledo? It's my time to say, please do that. Fill out the form as soon as you practically can, after you've determined what you can pay and how you might be just a little bit more generous. It's so important, especially with nearly all of our funding coming from our active members. No money from the denomination, much work by volunteers to apply for grants. So it really is you who make the Toledo Unitarians thrive. Please give.
And the final coming soon entry is for me to invite you to join us in Fellowship Hall after today's service for coffee, conversation, and social time.
And now for the final spiritual practice words we'll say together today. We have a version of the Golden Rule. We're sticking close to Toledo today with a version that was posted on the bulletin board of the Acme Sucker Rod Company, a Toledo firm owned by a future mayor who was known as Samuel Golden Rule Jones. We've adapted it to say church instead of factory. Let's say this together while Wendy extinguishes the chalice. The rule that governs this church, therefore, whatsoever ye would that people should do unto you, do ye even so unto them. May your thoughts be wise, your lips speak truth, your heart know love, and your hands do good work all the days of your life. Merry meet, merry part, and blessed be.
As we carry this
And forward we all true what we know. As we carry this flame forward, we these ways for us to grow. This we speak to power with this flame. We join in song as we carry this flame forward hand in hand. We heed the call to do justice, kindness, mercy, equity, and peace to all. This flame represents a people found in every faith and creed. People who commit to serving all their neighbors and their needs. As we carry this flame forward, it goes with us as a light. As we carry this flame toward a new world, our future's bright. This flame